Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today we have a pleasure of having two professors. Ken Regan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on. I'm in New Jersey right now.
Yes, great. And I'm in Toronto right now after spending 3 weeks in Europe. And of course, Professor Daniel Fleetwood, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Ken.
Great.
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, in my office.
Oh,
Yeah, that's great. Not far from the Parthenon.
That is correct. The one that's intact, not the one that's in ruins.
Yes, I will be seeing the one in ruins in 3 weeks.
It's actually much more impressive.
Okay.
Okay, Ken. So give us update of what's substantially happening in the last 2-3 weeks.
Since we last met, there are tournaments going on right now. The Cairns Cup in St. Louis.
Yes.
First time a Category 10 women's event in the U.S., I believe. And the World Rapid and Blitz Team Championship in London, reuniting a lot of the characters from Wall Street last December, but playing in teams. However, the biggest event of the intervening weeks with a sensational ending was Norway Chess. It was a sensation mostly in the men's side and the women's side. Anna Muzychuk had a fairly comfortable glide, although she could have been caught at the end by Hompe Konaru if Konaru had won. The scoring system deserves a mention there. It's 3 points for a win, 0 for a loss in regulation. If the game is drawn, the game went to an Armageddon. Each side scored 1 point for the draw and then a half point for the winner of the Armageddon.
What do you think about the scoring system?
Well, people have posted that it didn't really change what the standings would have been in the end, but it actually made a lot more potentiality possible. As I said, what in standard would have been a fairly comfortable tournament win for Anna Muzychuk, she could have been caught and passed by Hompe Konaru in the end. And in the men's section, no fewer than 4 of the 6 competitors were in contention for first on the last day.
So who was first?
The first was Magnus Carlsen, although about which he said, wow, I'm not sure I really played better chess, or words to that effect. But in fact, there were a lot of contentious play and nerves into effect. So in my screening system, Magnus Carlsen was the only of the 6 players to show superior accuracy given his rating.
Very interesting. Any interesting games that you would like to?
Yes, well, there's the famous slam game. Okay, I can't make a slam with my fist on the table. The tournament got off to a screaming start in the men's section right away because Carlsen and Gukesh Domoraju, his displacer as world champion, met in the first round and Carlsen won. In fact, Gukesh got off to an 0-2 start, which makes his later climb into contention more remarkable. And on the American side, Hikaru Nakamura defeated Fabiano Caruana as black. And I guess I can take time to do both of the Gukesh versus Caruana versus Carlsen games because let's see. So let me try showing my entire screen, and let's see if it shares fairly well on my laptop. Because this will give a setup. Of course, the round 6 game, as says, the famous slam game. So here we are. So this is the round 1 game.
Okay.
And okay, so Queen's Gambit, and this is, by the way, a perfect illustration of the way that Carlsen builds potential energy in his position as white. He does not get an advantage out of the opening. I think the capture. So maybe Dan, you know something about White's last move, capturing with the C3 knight rather than the E2 knight.
Well, I mean, if you want to play original chess, this is how to do it.
Right. So, and the other funny thing is already, Stockfish 17.1 light is giving a minus score to White. So,
yeah, I'm sure that he probably has looked at this very deeply. So it's becoming more popular, especially in, for the folks who deeply use the computers now, to find lines where it looks like black gets just a little bit of an edge to tempt black to perhaps overextend. And I would guess that was his strategy here.
right. And if you play through the lines, you see how you can neutralize this. See whether the edge tends to expand or tends to get neutralized. So, whoops. Let's see. Here we go. Knight F3. So White has a deployment of knights that one usually more sees in the Tarrasch French with a more advanced center. But actually, the way that Carlsen holds back his center until the end is the ultimate theme of the game. So we have
now it's kind of like a quiet London system.
Okay, yeah, London, or I was going to say Kali system, but without White's light squared bishop. So Black has essentially achieved the positional goal in a structure like this of exchanging light squared bishops from the get-go. But here we go. Black even has a little edge in development, although White's going to close that. And mysterious rook move, I have to say.
This is all the rage in London lines, is to get the rook to D1.
Okay. So either tempting Black to close with C4, which has positional drawbacks, or White can threaten either C4 or E4, which will increase the potentiality and maybe crowbar open the D file. Well, the computer says more than a 0.30 edge to Black here, though, just by playing A5 and A4, expanding moves. But Gukesh decides to try to take advantage of White's rook move by fingering the weakness on A2 left behind. So White spends a tempo for that. And now I would go ahead and play C4 in this position, but it's not one of the computer's top lines. Okay. The other positional thing Black can do is play Queen A6 to weaken White's light squares more by prompting a trade of queens. Okay, so now the one advantage White has in this position is more built up on the king side. And with H4, the staking of a claim to space. Plus, it's not clear when or whether White is going to castle in this position. So the fact that the queen side the center is relatively closed is playing to White's liking. Okay, so this is a very typical move by Black in the advanced French if White has pawn on E5, but it's coming through here. Okay, so White occupies E5 with the knight instead, and yeah, there's leeway on the king side. So Gukesh starts to regroup, move the bishop back, move the queen back, now prompting the trade of queens, or trying to suggest it. The alternative for White is now White's king definitely cannot cancel. So Gukesh tries some exchanges, which might leave White's rook on H1 as noticeably out of play. Okay, Black has to worry for his king too. So here comes E5. White's king is stuck in the center. Let's open the position. However, the all-seeing computer says that despite the consequentiality of Black's play, now it is White for choice. So, chess is a very complicated game, and maybe you're right that Carlsen spent a lot of time just observing the intricacies of these positions. So we trade queens, and optically, this looks great for Black, doesn't it? I mean, White hasn't castled. Black has a well-supported center.
Yeah, but there's a weak pawn on D5.
Yeah, okay, I'll agree with you there. Even if Black trades one pair of pawns and it pushes past, so that white cannot open the d file. The d pawn is still the base of a chain and attackable. So in fact, that's exactly what Gukesh does. However, this trade, as opposed to taking with the c pawn, okay, has created a dynamic imbalance. White has 5 versus 4 on the king side. So an advance with white's king bringing up the rear guard potentially can create 2 passed pawns for white if black is eventually forced to capture on e4. So anyway, so white brings back the knight. Where's the knight going? It's going to attack the base of black's pawns. In fact, it's attacking both of them. But there are tactics that prevent the b pawn from being lost, because white's b pawn would be won in return. So white defends it. Now white has, however, outplayed black to the extent of having more than a half pawn edge according to the computer. So we bring up f3. This is the goal of much play in this formation. Black comes back with the queenside counterattack. It's possible f3, in fact, was a little premature. The engine suggests that white should either play b4 or play more slowly with the king, so that connect the rooks and offset what black is going to do on the queen side. Okay. So now black has created trades, but it's also created, the a pawn is another weakness. A 5 versus 4 position might be lost for black. Okay, so white's king in a cubby hole on d3, but you shed the g pawn. However, here we go. Black's d pawn weakness has now been exposed. Black found a very clever way to guard it from the side, but white is still trying to undermine black's pieces. And remember, e4 creating 2 passed pawns is on the table, and here they are. So what's happening? This position is dead equal according to the engine, but it might be easier for white to play. So at this point, it should be mentioned that the Norway chess had a very, very distinctive time control. It was 2 hours until turn 40, or really for the rest of the games, and then at turn 40, only I think a 10-second increment. Okay, so not the usual 30-second increment, but only 10 seconds. This giving 123 minutes to get to turn 60 in any game. So players were already short of time, and were getting only 10-second increments. So in fact, Gukesh used almost 2/3 of his time on the decision to push the h pawn and allow his knight to get captured. Okay, it is the best move, but it's going to require some very careful play. So in fact, this is exciting. Both players get queens on the board. And now this again takes a lot of calculation from white as well, because it could be mate with black's queen and rook able to attack. Well, it turns out that this is the key losing moment in the game. Okay, so the way black has to play is white's thought is to escape to the 6th rank on the queen side, where both the queen and the knight can cover checks. So how do you want to be checking if when white's king gets to the c4 square? Okay, so it turns out that the correct way to play, with white going to c4, okay, is to enable you to give this check with your queen still eyeing the rook. And in fact, this would cost white material. Okay. However, Gukesh played here, and now
just not enough time.
Not enough time, yeah. So now it is losing. So the problem is that white's king, it looks like he's getting checkmated with rook g2 check, but it's just not the case. Queen g2, isn't that mate? B2, isn't that mate? Nope. King just goes, and so Now it is time for white to conduct a king hunt of black's king, and this very accurate move. Either something's going to drop with white playing king d3, queen f3 check, okay, and black's rook falls or black's queen falls, or you play here, and then you're liable to this one. So exciting game.
Yeah, very close game.
Yeah,
indeed.
Mm-hmm. So, but very, very characteristic of how Magnus Carlsen wins his game. And to tell you the truth, for most of the rematch in the 6th round of this double round robin, it looked like it was going to be more of the same. So, okay, so the Gioca Piano Tabia, but actually reached via the Berlin move order. So D3, C3. Okay, both players playing to restrict the opponent's pieces. Tempi don't matter in this position so much because it's mostly closed. Okay, so very slow, careful play. White has a nominal advantage according to the computer, but it's just what you should expect from a well-played opening. I don't know, Dan, if you can comment on this particular choice of slow-moving strategies for white and black.
So, I mean, there are a lot of lines like this that are being played. I mean, over the board, you can play any of this stuff. In correspondence, playing an early D5, like even on move 5 in this variation, actually equalizes instantly. So, but you have to know the lines very, very deeply.
So D5 even here. Wow, you're right.
Yeah.
The top line according to the computer. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I would find that very loose.
Well, you don't play that unless you know it.
Okay, there we go. All right. So that's interesting.
But I mean, if you don't play that, then you are kind of stuck, basically playing something like a typical Gyoko position. There's nothing wrong with that, but the advantage to playing a game like this is the advantage goes to the better player.
Yeah. And I could see, theoretically how this could become oppressive for black. It's symmetrical, but white is just like a little lip ahead with organizing. The white's bishops are better organized than black's for future action. Black's bishop on b6 is currently the best piece on the board, but
and the knight to e7 and g6 eyeing f4 is certainly thematic in all of these lines.
Right. And black does get that in ahead of it, and that's eventually what turns the tables of advantage in this position. Okay, so now white moves forward with d4, but even with white having opened the center like this, the position still has a rock solid character. Now white can trade and exchange queens, or trade or invite black to exchange queens. Let's see. That's actually not among white's best options, so it's probably inconsequential. So taking on a4, to my mind, a little bit of concession in some positions, but I think the activity of black's b8 rook compensates. So in black's a pawn, maybe it's not going to be attacked so well. Okay, so now a committal move by white. Okay, and this is going to play into the nature of black's counterplay, because if e4 falls, then d5 might also fall, and black can invest a pawn to make this counterplay happen. So here we go, knight b4.
Well, anytime black can put that knight there, when I'm playing white in these positions, I'm worried.
Yeah. And white's knight on f5 doesn't have comparable impact because black is taken. So white anchors the bishop, but the bishop's going to be out of play actually on that square. And here comes Carlsen occupying squares, and now a tactical misstep, according to the computer, wants white to reorganize the pieces. The knight on f3 actually is in the way of getting enough defenders of the e4 pawn. So white was thinking to overprotect the e4 pawn this way, but it's so now the computer, by the way, wants an audacious move. Okay, so the reason why this might be a mistake is that this sacrifice is apparently on for black. Seems very hard to believe. But
These positions are really hard to defend.
yeah. So if white goes to f1, then knight g4 is a double attack on the rook on f2. So white spends a tempo to make this happen, and then it's just a slow buildup, isn't it? Wow, black can play g6.
Yeah,
Just play a piece down.
exactly. That's why that knight on f4 is so paralyzing there. It's like a lot of King's Indian like positions.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So what's wrong with knight e2 here? If we see what's wrong with knight e2, then
It's that rook on e3 that's a real problem here.
Yeah, knight g4. Well, what is this doing? c3, drawing 2. Yeah, knight h3. So we just go after the f pawn. That's the answer in a lot of
then either the h pawn's going to walk or the queen's going to come in, and it's just hard.
Yeah, wow. So Carlsen did not go for that. So Carlsen instead played the g6 move now as a slow buildup. Okay, so now at least taking on h3 is not going to be check. So bishop h6, however, though, now switching ways, and the bishop is coming to d3 real soon, like now. And so black can afford to jettison the a pawn in order to go for this boa constrictor attack on white's pawn chain. White apparently not able to get the move f3 in. So now h4. And this, now, a funny dynamic here. White's knight on g3 is not hanging, because after the trade, white would have pawn on g3 attacking black's knight and f4 guarding the bishop. So this is not hanging a piece, but it is black is still just able to build. Okay, so again, just really three pieces attacking e4, three pieces defending it. And why can't white play f3 in this position? Well, f3, 8, that just does hang the knight. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you can just take it.
Yeah. So actually, the computer already sees black having a huge advantage in this position because e4 is going to fall. And once e4 falls, white's position falls. Well,
it's really mystifying how Carlsen loses this game. I got to be honest with you. I've gone through it a couple times, and I just have no idea what happened.
Yeah, and the fact that Carlsen doesn't just simply win the game in this position. Now he has 15 minutes left. He's ahead on time, but this game, like his other game, does get psychedelic at crunch time. So. So let's see. So what's the reason why white can't take on d4 here? Okay. And yes, the reason is black just comes here and makes queen.
Ooh.
Yes.
Brutal.
Yes. So now knight takes h3. This is a really beautiful move. So finally doing it. Although the prosaic bishop takes e4 might have been just as effective. Because after takes here, you play rook d1 check and then take on f4. And
I guess that's a little bit harder to see.
Yeah. It's so anyway, so knight takes h3. I mean, it's still a winning move. Bishop takes e4. Now, okay. Looks like it's going to be mate, right? Black just has to get the other rook into the game. White center is falling apart. But in fact, this is a little bit of a reprieve for white. If you take the pawn here, you go 2 pawns ahead. But I don't know. It's white has counterplay suddenly. So I mean, black can defend. Let's see, rook f1, and then rook e8. I don't know. White is coming with a little bit of surprising counterplay from the side. Ordinarily, 2 pawns down, I would expect resignation to come soon. So it's a little bit of Carlsen's unfortunateness. Well, knight f4 looks like a powerful move too. Bring in the king. So now Carlsen conceives the strategy of advancing the king behind the pawn phalanx. Okay, so he marched the king, which okay, so turns out f5 is the right move, just advancing in the center. So this is just with 2 minutes left, miscalculating a ping pong series of moves that eventually allows white to win a pawn. So again, is black being mated? Well, no. You have this, but now I said ping pong time, knight e4 check, and king g3. Now 2 of black's pawns are forked, so white wins 1 of black's pawns. So it's not clear. Pawns are equal right now. All right, we attack this. Now white goes here, and it's even material on board. 47 seconds left for Carlsen. This is the crucial miscalculation of a pawn race. So it turns out, actually, it's not only does black have only 1 move to keep his advantage, he has only 1 move not to lose, probably, in this position. So rook e8 is the way to keep the advantage. And then the idea is that if white repeats, now you have this tempo move. And, well, now, it's going to come down to the wire of pawn races anyway. Well, Carlsen thought he saw that this is going to work, that black's pawns will queen before white's. Here they come. But, in fact, he just miscalculated this.
So what is it? I mean, he just didn't count correctly, or was there a hallucination? What do you think was the driver there?
Yeah, I think a hallucination. I think there's one surprising pause move for white that I think Carlsen didn't see. This is the white's knight going to the edge of the board.
Mm-hmm.
So by the way, I once made a composition in which a king move to e3 was a key point. So you think here, okay, the knight's not going to deliver check because it's 2 squares diagonally. I'm going to push my pawn. And so you've stopped white's knight from coming to e4. It's important to point out that if d2, then white wins by knight e4,
yeah, sure.
and if black promotes to knight c3. So that was the point of king e3. And I think Carlsen thought that this won and didn't see that.
Yeah, I could see how he could overlook that. I mean, that just looks nuts.
Yeah. It does look nuts, but it's actually a refutation of the study that I composed as well with somebody else. It worked on some stuff. And so now this,
there it is.
Like, there it is. But whoa, it's still close. Okay. Because if h6, then e2 is winning for black. But you have this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, now it seems like this has just changed things, but now this is the final point. And it's possible that king f4 was also the move overlooked by Carlsen. Because d2...
Well, I mean, goodness, that was really wild.
Yes.
I'd probably slam the table too if I'm Carlsen.
Right. Yeah. So there's this famous video of Carlsen slamming the pieces, but then recovering his composure 3 seconds later. So.
What an amazing ending.
Mm-hmm. Quite.
It seems to me that as long as you can keep position tactical, that's a way that probably to beat Carlsen. So he may just not be accurate to the end, and not that he is not great tactically as well as positionally, but it requires a little bit more involvement, more preciseness, and he may not carry it day to day. So that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Gukesh.
And I'll just show the ending of the game that ended Gukesh's chances.
Oh,
Because
this was and Fabiano had quite a slump after getting off to a good start, and this was a good recovery for him.
Right. And this so it's been a very complicated game, and White has the advantage, but you have to play it exactly, because Black does get this counterplay with 3 versus 1 on the queen side, and Fabiano actually pitches his advantage away. Okay, not immediately.
So Ken and Sasha, this is something that computers have really let's say emphasized. I mean, in the old days, it was often felt that rook and 2 pawns were sufficient compensation for the 2 pieces against rook and 2 pawns was pretty even. The pieces are a lot stronger in most of these positions than most of us expected.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, you can take a look at a famous game. I forgot the number. I think it was game number 7 of the match Capablanca-Alekhine, where Capablanca had 2 very strong pieces and demolished Alekhine quite nicely. So there's some evidence of that.
When you get these positions with the computer, sometimes you'll be looking at the board and thinking, well, maybe the side with the rook is, and the 2 pawns is about equal, or maybe a little bit better, and the computer will be showing like +2 for the other side. And
I did the opposite though a long time ago. It's 20 years ago with Crafty, the old chess engine. I found a position where Crafty was saying, advantage to the side with the 2 pieces against White's rook and 2 pawns. Yet I, with my chess intuition, knew the position was winning. And I eventually proved it using Crafty's hash table that the position was winning.
Those were fun days, Ken. I wish they were still here.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, this this is it's a difficult fight against Black's passed pawns, because White hasn't gotten his own army going yet. But Caruana plays this beautifully well, and Gukesh is in terrible time pressure too, down to 15 seconds. Okay, so Black makes a battery. We're getting to the crunch side here. But now White's move F4, natural as it looks, getting things out of the way is just mistimed. White should give check and retreat the bishop. But so now this lets Black into the game with a D2 move. Okay, so we capture. And so this is the key juncture. So it turns out that the right way for Black to play is to capture this, and then White has to put the knight on G3. And this is the sailing, just being in irons. It turns out that White simply cannot win this position, cannot untangle.
Huh. Well, it would have been nice to have had more than a minute or so to sort that one out, huh?
Yeah. Instead, Gukesh, promoted to queen, which looks natural, but White is knight C3, and there's no checks.
Ouch.
And Gukesh resigned. So,
isn't that something?
Yeah. So all in all, a lot of excitement in the tournament. Could probably say more about it too, like following Hikaru Nakamura's ups and downs, but because he was in it too for a while.
Yeah, it's very interesting to follow all this chess news. Very interesting positions, and it just shows that there is still alive in classical chess because at some time when you're watching all this Fischer type of chess, the how's they call it, freestyle chess. So you
Yeah.
see that this is a way to do it, but all of a sudden you're coming back to classical, and you enjoy it, and you see that there's still a lot of very interesting possibilities. And then you say, do we really need this freestyle? Is that the future of chess? I think it's still a question. No obvious.
I saw a few comments online where some people were speculating that we may have seen Carlsen play his last classical chess game.
Yeah,
in
that's
Norway. So I know he's always been. I know that he's been kind of threatening to stop with that, but I wonder if it's serious this time. I mean, he's about to become a father, so there is that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it could make it. It's just the problem is that all classical chess, it's so well known, all the openings, the typical positions, the end games, and just name it. So it's more and more difficult for Carlsen to show his superiority in classical games. For example, it's looks like it's much easier for him to do it in repeat, blitz, or freestyle rather than classical game, and he realizes it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's all whether maybe you'll just come back for the Norway tournaments. I don't know.
Mhm.
That'll be fun to watch, I guess.
Mhm.
I know. I mean, I remember it was such a disappointment when Kasparov, kind of stepped away from active play. But I guess there was a point where he felt like he just wasn't playing up to his expectation.
Yeah.
I guess when you hit that level,
With Kasparov, it was more complicated. He was sidelined by FIDE. FIDE failed
oh right,
to allow him to play matches against either Ponomaryov or Kasinjanov or even Kramnik himself or so on. They just sidelined. He had no opportunity to play a match. Yeah, he could continue to play in tournaments, but he couldn't play the match for the World Championship. And that's why he gave it up, because he was 41 at the time, so he would be 42 next year, and then 45 is not too far away. And for Kasparov, his intense style of play with so much calculations going on, so he figured out that he will start his decline sooner or later, and the younger players will become even stronger. No prospects for the World Championship. With Carlsen, it's all opposite. He is one who is avoiding to play World Championship matches.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a different
That's
situation.
an interesting observation. Yeah.
yeah, very good.
He
Yeah.
did go on to a notable second career.
Hmm.
So,
And yeah, that's another story.
yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you so
Mhm.
much for today's program. We are coming back, and we'll see you next week, same place, same time. Have a great
Okay. Good
weekend.
seeing you, Dan, again too. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.